Hey kids, comics. Silverhead Bronze Age Babe here, yakking about our comic book collection. Thank you for joining me on this live dive. It is 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the Eastern United States, which means it's cocktail hour. Join me, won't you? Thank you for watching this video, for joining us on this live dive. I already see two very special people in the chat. Magic Lasso, hello. Thank you for joining us. And Lucinda Swirl, who is the artist in residence who created the grand prize that we are here to give away. So the point of this live dive is to announce our winner of the Superman giveaway gift pack. And just to refresh your memory, this beautiful, one-of-a-kind tumbler created by Lucinda Swirl, who is there in the chat, is going to go to one lucky winner. In addition, that winner gets a set of Superman postcards. So you can write to everyone you know and say, guess what, I won. And you get a box of comics, a lot of Superman comics that hopefully people will enjoy. So that's what we're giving away today. But before we do that, thank you to everyone in the chat. There's Rod, just a Rican in his comics. Hello, so good to see you. Jackson, thanks for joining us. Thank you so much. And Ranger Sly, hello. And Super Russ, it's really good to see you. Before I do the little thingy-do and announce the winner, I hope everybody will get a chance, if you haven't already, to look at the comment section for that announcement, because I really enjoyed reading everybody's contributions to that. It made this comic book fan just kind of wander down memory lane as well, learning about what Superman books you enjoyed, what eras you liked, and how important comic books were to you as a youngster, what they, represent to you and your family. People talked about their brothers and their dads. And it really is very special. And I'm really so glad that everyone is playing in this sandbox with me, because I feel the same way about comic books. I always have. And to be this old and still talking about them and finding a community of people who love it, it just is absolutely fantastic. So hopefully you'll zip back and take a look at what some of your community members have said about it, because it's great. All right, enough yammering. Let me see if I can do the screen share here. And I can use this nifty little application that I done found to share. I think I've done it. Okay, so there we are. And now all I got to do, start that. And the winner is Super Russ 9000. Oh, I have to tell you, I'm thrilled with that. Russ is, and I didn't, this is absolutely, whoop, let me stop sharing that. Sorry about that. There was no futzing going on at that at all, but Super Russ is one of the most devoted Superman comic book fans I have come across. So I am thrilled, Russ, that all this stuff is going to go to you. So if you zip over to my YouTube homepage, and in the About section, you can find my email. So shoot me an email with your address, and I will get to the post office next week and ship all this stuff off to you. Congratulations. And I'm delighted. I'm really delighted. And I bet everybody is happy that you will get this gift pack of stuff too. So, again, I do want to thank Lucinda Swirl. you know, I hope some of you have visited her YouTube channel and watched how she made this Superman mug. And we have been talking about maybe kind of, sort of, doing something to commemorate the Wonder Woman movie, if that ever comes out. I'm kind of speaking for Luxinda without telling her that. But it's a maybe. I'm going to caveat it with it's a maybe. So you never know. So stay tuned. So, well, while we're talking Superman, you want to see some comic books? Because I have pulled a bunch from my Superman collection. So if you follow my channel at all, I am basically going through my entire Superman collection. I've got a complete run from 1959, actually some in 1958, all the way through 1979. And I've been showing them, you know, every now and then so that you can see what I have. So, oh, Tartan Fandom, welcome. A tumbler should come with beer. Listen, it is, the winner is allowed to pick whatever beverage they prefer to go in their tumbler. So cheers to Super Russ. That's fantastic. So yay. Anyway, back to books. So this is, I think in my collection, this is from January, I think, of 1972. And it's one of the 100-page giants and got some great reprints in it. I was particularly interested to see something called Super Chief, which I didn't really care for, but, you know, okay. And then the numbering got off because this was January. This is number 245 for January, but this says 246 for December. But whatever. So we're basically going to look at 72 and 73 here. And the thing, it has been horrendously hot here. And so I've been having a lot of indoor activity days. And so in preparation for this little live dive, I've been rereading this stack of books and remembering how much I love them. And this is an interesting one because, you know, back in the 70s, they focused a lot on things like the ecology, pollution, and fighting pollution was a big deal back then. And so this story is kind of a nod to that, where a scientist basically does something, it makes a mistake and just throws, or it gets thrown down the drain, and the monster comes up. So it's just kind of an interesting look. Magic Lasso was asking, what is my oldest Superman comic book? It's number 124. And I think that's from it might be from 58 or 59. And it's the one before, or right after 123, which is a very famous book because it introduces a Supergirl character. And it's really expensive, so I shall not be getting it. Now, I did get another Superman comic this year that was in really ratty shape, and it was older. I just don't remember what number it is. So, you know, but so that's my oldest. So this stuff is, now I have to, you know, when you talk about oldest, like, when did you get them? You know, it's like I was giving some thought to how these came to me. And I think I started buying Superman comics back in 1975 and 76, where you send away for stuff to a place in Passaic, New Jersey or something. And so, you know, at the time it was like, God, I have to pay 50 cents for a book that was only 25 cents 2 years ago. But that's why I think the books I have are not, they're in pretty good shape, you know? So any of that, this is definitely 1972 and a very famous issue and a very famous story about does the world need a Superman? So the Denny O'Neill's taken a crack at this, I think. And it's an interesting thought exercise. Like if Superman is not fighting wars for us and he's not building homes for the poor and he's not dealing with the societal ills that we've got going, why do we need this guy? And so if you haven't found the story or read the story, check it out because, you know, you can kind of ask yourself, do I agree with O'Neill and the guys at DC about why we need a Superman? And there's also a hysterical story. They started a new series called The Private Life of Clark Kent. And it ran throughout this era of book, and it's hysterical. I mean, it's really funny. So, so there's that. Lois would disagree. Well, maybe. February 248, a nice Lex Luthor story. That. And then the next one in the run, the introduction of Terra Man. Full disclosure, I don't really care about Terra Man. I reread all this stuff this week, and gall darn tootin', I just couldn't get behind this old cowpoke, this evil cowpoke. So I don't know. Tartan Phantom, maybe you can jump in here because I do know that this is one of your favorite eras. I don't know if you're a Terra Man fan, but I just couldn't really get behind him. I can, however, get behind the covers of Magic Lasso. I love Tiramisu. Now that's an idea for a villain. He clogs your arteries. Okay, so this is 250 from April of 1972, and it's one of my all-time favorite Neil Adams covers. I talked about it I did a video talking about my birthday and how it was so great to get old. But I just love this. And I have a higher grade copy of this book because I just think the covers are riot. So I need that. This is kind of a fun story too. The Thing is born. Happy birthday, Thing. And you got a lot of bang for your buck on these 25 centers. You know how I read comic books. It's like I read the stories, I read the ads, I do the letters to the editor. This is a fun time to, these 25-cent 52-page or 48 pages, they were later, is a great way to spend a very hot, moist, muggy afternoon while you hide in air conditioning. So that's cool. 25 sinners. Scent. Scott is trying to cleaning Pshaw. I was going to do that too at the beginning of the pandemic, and you should see the state that our house is in. It's not been cleaned. Okay, so the next issue is, most Superman fans will know this one. This is number 252. It's a Neil Adams cover, and it's all reprints. In fact, I'm going to take it out of the bag. Out of the bag, as After Comics would say, because to fully appreciate it, you need to see the wraparound aspect of that. Yeah, it is Magic Lasso. It is, to me, it's, I think, with the exception of maybe the Treasury edition that he did for Batman and Ra's al Ghul, I think this is my favorite Neil Adams wraparound cover. I think it's great. And I got to tell you, this book took me a long time to find. I didn't Wasn't able to pick it up, kind of in my first wave of collecting. And I remember having to send all the way to some shop in Grand Rapids, Michigan, for this on one of my later rounds of collecting because I just needed it. And the other thing that I love about it is it has that wax pencil mark on there. I don't know about you guys, but just for me, that's just like, no, it was in a store. It was out there in a spinner rack or something. So yeah. I got hooked on those 25-cent books and tried to complete the entire Cross Title. Well, it's fun. I agree with you, Tartan, because if you could only have one era of DC books across the line, I'd go with those two, because they give you reprints of Silver Age and Golden Age and different primary stories, oftentimes new stories. So they're fantastic. So yeah, I'm all about the 25 centers. I particularly went after the 25 centers on some DC mystery books that I was having fun collecting earlier this year, because it's like, well, I want to see all that stuff. So, okay. So Billy Anders, I don't know. This is Billy Anders shows up for 2 or 3 issues in this period. Kind of silly. Although I don't think it's this book. I think it's the next. I think it's a Nick Carty cover. Is it? I don't know. Someone knows more than me. But yeah, Grand Rapids. Yes, Jesse. The North Country. Okay, the cat is talking on the cover. The cat is very important because Billy Anders, who is passed out here, Billy Anders' psyche has been put into the links, like that. Billy's body, Billy's brain. Again, 1971, man, or 2. It was a little odd, but the next story in it, which I love this cover, by the way. I think it's just uber fab. This cover has one of my favorite panels ever, and I'm gonna force you to wait until I find it, but I did right away. So it's kind of hard to explain. In fact, let me just take a drink and think about it. Yes, Scott, you've got it. He's linked to a links. So much so that the only way Superman can solve this problem is by concentrating very closely on Billy and the links, which is why you get that fantastic panel where it looks like there's a lynx, a little lovely hat on Superman's head, where he whispers, "Lynx." That actually is it's him imagining a lynx. So it's worth it. It's worth it. Just the giggle factor alone on this is a riot. So, Solid 4th Street Ben Shannon, who, by the way, I guess I've been saying your name wrong all this time. I've got the solid, I've got the 4, but I've been saying street and it's string because Shannon's a musician. I think you're a bass player. And you could probably play everything else. And I feel a little embarrassed because as a guitar player and a ukulele player, I can appreciate that. So, but nonetheless, I love you, Shannon. And for anyone out there who wants to take a look at someone whose collection of this era book, Shannon's got a bigger collection than I do, and it's fantastic. So. 243. Oh, it's which one is that, Shannon? because what I'm trying to do is I've already shown a bunch of them. So I was kind of going through as, yeah, I have featured another video. Is that the one with Superman and the mystery woman? She says, wondering. Not sure. He'll let me know. And in the meantime, here's another one, The Son of Superman. I think this is another Denny O'Neil story. The writers in this era were kind of the young Turks of DC Comics at the time, I think. Denny O'Neil, Cary Bates, and Len Wein. And they were just, from my perspective, just great one-and-done stories, even though I liked the done-in-ones better. But they had arcs with Billy Anders and Terra Man. So from my perspective, it was like, oh, dang, But so this is, where's this? 256 from September of 72. This is a fun story, and a nice cover, but it's not the title. It's not the first story in the book. This is the secondary story. And this is one of those copies. When I was reading it the other day, I was noticing like in what good shape this was. And it's because I bought it in 1975. So it was only 2 years old. And, I would have paid, what, 25, 30 cents to send away to Passaic, New Jersey to get someone, to send this to me. So I've had it a while and I got it cheap. 256, Jackson is on your hunt list. Yeah, it's good. And the story's fun. She's been hypnotized by a carnival magician or something, and so she thinks she's a cat, but not Catwoman. Okay. Yeah, it should have been Cheetah, Magic Lasso, but they don't have that many bad people, villains to spread around, do they? So here's number 257 from October of 72, a great Nick Cardy cover. Don't be afraid. There's nobody in the forest but us. I just love this. I've always loved this cover. Besides the fact that it's Superman like being completely oblivious. But I think the art is great. And it's a good story too. It's nice stuff. This has always been a favorite. I think someone's going to have to remind me when this creature showed up before. But I love the cover. To me, this is so Bronze Age. This is just in the Bronze Age wheelhouse. All right, Shannon, my screen name is a music thing. I play bass in a couple bands, and the name stands for solid 4-string bottom end. I knew it wasn't what I was saying, but I'm going to forewarn you now. I might just always say it the wrong way. Billy's back. And I need to show, I'm going to have to take this out of the bag so I could show you another favorite Cal is a dork panel. And it's, oh, here we go. So Terra Man is at it, and he has basically attacked Cal with a lasso that basically kind of hypnotizes him. And so he's thinking that his body has been split in half. And then you have that panel that says, what did I say before about kicking myself? And then, if that weren't good enough, you got another one of the Lynx on the head. Links. You know, comics were fun. They were fun. They were funny. Sometimes the stories were sad. And actually, yes, Jesse Lynch, that Alien one is, I'm having trouble remembering the specifics, but it's not, it's worth picking up. It really is. So there you go. So that ends 72, and then we're into 73. And I didn't have a chance to go through these stories, but that's a pretty cool cover. And I would get these books in batches of 10. And what I loved the Superman flying across there, because in 75, the covers weren't like this. They didn't have that. And so I was in the 25, 30 cent era real time. So I was also reading those and then getting these. And I loved these covers way more. And so what I would do, raise your hand if you're with me on this, that I would spread them all out on my bedroom floor, all the old ones, and lay them all out, and then get up on my bed and look down at them to see them en masse. And I just thought that was cool. But maybe that's just me. Okay. Oh, if I could find a high-grade copy of this book, either already CGC'd or CGC-able, I might pull the trigger on it, because I love everything about this book. I love Star Sapphire. I love that she is commanding him to kiss her boot. The story in it is great. And actually, who saves the day is Lois Lane. So this is absolutely one of my treasured actual, issues. And if you haven't read the story or found it, it is worth it. But so like I say, this is in pretty good shape, but not worthy to send to the CGC folks to have them frame it for me. But I am kind of on the hunt for a higher grade copy of this book, because it's a favorite, and always will be. Yeah, these boots are made for walking. They're going to walk all over him. Now, I remember when this one came in the mail, and I just thought I loved it. I thought it was like a really cool cover when I was a kid, and now I look at it and I'm like, whatever. Although, having had a corporate Fortune 500 career where I've worked in a couple tall buildings, I have felt that way. Like, what if Superman came and split the building in half and I didn't have to come here to work? That would be good. So, now, I am curious as to what people think about these kinds of covers. I'm not sure. This is a Neil Adams cover. And, having the I don't know what you call it when there's a photograph on the back and then you put art on top of it. I love how the Superman is drawn half and half. I really do. And in fact, I can spend a lot of time staring at the fire part of the molten steel part of that. But the photographs with the crummy cars and the muddy color in the back, photo collage, is that what it is, Turton? So again, it doesn't really do it for me, I don't think. You kind of wonder, would there have been a better way to take advantage of what Adams did with the figure of Superman anyway? But Shannon, of course, loves them. So I'll leave them as is. Yeah, Scott, I don't know. I don't know if this is one of those things where it's like, well, we can do it. Should we? Oh. I read this every day, every time there's a Super Bowl. No, actually, I don't. I don't remember anything about the story. Like I say, I haven't had a chance. I didn't get a chance to dive into these actual books. But again, this is a Nick Cardy cover, I'm pretty sure. And it's just so typical of the era. Always loved this cover. We have met the enemy, and he is ours. With the rain. Very cool. Attack of the Army of Tomorrow. Wish I could talk intelligently about the story, but I just don't remember. If anyone, by the way, speaking of stories, is interested in what some of these individual stories, let me know, and I can always do a "your wish is my command" on them. So there's a reason for me to dig into the pile and read them. So Jesse Lynch, wasn't that during the Steve Lombard era? Yeah, it is. And is this where he was introduced, maybe? Is this maybe his first appearance? I'm not sure. Yeah, was he meant to be a counterpart to the Newsroom, where, they all kind of got along, Perry and Jimmy and Lois and Clark. So you needed someone, I guess, to, mix things up with a little bit. And what better way to do that than a sportscaster who is really full of himself? I've always loved this cover too. Abominable Snowman. And the fact that I just noticed this the other day where they picked yellow and red. I think it's cool. Yeah, Tartan. I hate the Lombard guy. He has a moment in one of the stories. I think I mentioned it on kind of a Women's Libbers from Space episode where he and Lois Lane get into it about women's lib. But sadly, they didn't. They only left it for one panel because I would have paid money to have Lois Lane and Steve Lombard go at it for, I don't know, maybe a page would have been good. Superman and kids, not my favorite kind of thing, but I could be talked into it. But again, these 20 centers and the private life of Clark Kent. The stories in here would, you either had a private life of Clark Kent story. You also had stuff from Krypton, like Life of Krypton before the planet blew up. And I like those. I actually kind of like those a lot. Like I said the other day in my video on the Bottled City of Kandor, the Kryptons, they actually were very consistent in that they're pretty emotion-free. But they were still able to make it kind of interesting, and they were talking about debating science. And science actually plays a big role in a lot of these stories. There's a lot of explanation about how the sun does this, and these chemicals will do that, and this bomb could do that. Back in the days remember when science was a thing, she says. Here we go. A little bit of Batgirl wandering over to the Superman title. I've got to rush Clark Kent to the hospital. I'm afraid he's dying. Now, one of my viewers has always, he and I have talked about the use of purple. And I'm a huge fan of it. I've always liked it because most colors go good with purple. His beef with it, though, in the comic book realm is that purple is often used as sky, in the night sky. I assume it's because it's difficult to do black. So I think his beef with it is that it's overused a lot, and particularly in this era of book. But I don't care. Thank you, Scott. Enjoying my videos. I appreciate that. I really have had a lot of fun doing them. I really do. And Cardi do his own thing. He could mimic literally any artist out there. Yeah, he definitely fits into any book. You could put him on any title in the DC universe, and I think I have a lot of samples of him in the DC universe, and it all works. So, Prince Rogers Nelson, no. That was not my fan of that, my purple guy. I loved this when it came in the mail. I just thought that was super cool. It was one of my favorite covers when I was a kid, and just pawing through this collection. I don't remember anything about the story, but it's just very neat. And then, so we're wrapping up 1973. And one of my least favorite covers. Now, I have, like I say, I don't know about the story. It could be super cool, but this just doesn't really do it for me. The one thing I do notice is that Lex Luthor is only, and Brainiac, I mean, Lex Luthor is only in this pile once. You know, in 2 years, you saw him once on a cover, Brainiac not at all. So, you know, I think it seems like maybe they were trying to, you know, throw some spaghetti at the wall and see what would stick in terms of other villains. So there you go. So that's all I have. I am going to, next few weeks, I'm going to have a video of Superman from like all of 1974. So if you were reading in 74, what would you have gotten either at the newsstand or in the mail? When then they came in the mail back then, Sandstream Drown mailer that, yes. Yeah, you got that was called the subscription crease. And one of these books has it. I'm not going to dig through it, but it was a horrible way to get your comics in the mail because they were completely folded in half. And you had this plain brown wrapper that insinuated something terrible going on, you know, calling Dr. Wortham. And then you would slide it out, and then, you know, the book was there. In fact, I did a video early on in my little tenure here of what is a subscription crease, and I show several of the Superman books that I had in my subscription because that were folded up like that. And the folks at CGC don't care for that these days, and so it really deflates the value of those books. But for those of us who had subscriptions, and that was to me, it's like, oh, I loved it. I loved it because when those things came in the mail, that was a great day. So, all right, well, that's all I have, folks. Again, many congratulations to Super Russ, 9,000, 900, 9,000, 9 million. I am so glad this stuff came to you, and I'm sure everyone else in the community is too. Again, thank you, Luxinda Swirl, my friend, for creating this thing, and thank all of you for playing along. I've really had a ball, and thanks for sharing all your Superman memories with us, with me and everybody else. I think it was great. My friend Rob and I will be back in a couple weeks to do a live dive on Catwoman. So a character that I didn't really know that much about. And so I've actually been having a lot of fun doing some research on Catwoman, and I'm really eager to talk about that. So thanks all again. I would stay and chat with you, but you know what? I have to go because the missus has made some guacamole, and so cocktail hour is carrying on downstairs on the back deck. So I gotta go. Thanks so much, you guys. We'll see you next time.